Anyway, the next speaker for the day is, actually he's a cop. The next speaker for the day, at least he was a cop, but trust me, cheating on an exam is not punishable by law yet. So, yet I've tried that. So, Venkatesh Rajgopal has been the chairman and managing director of Indian Terrain Fashions. For all of you who are wearing all that cool clothing, all the jeans and all your shirts from Indian Terrain, this man is the guy who's behind everything. But just before we do that, Mr. Rajgopal served as the managing director of Celebrity Fashions Limited from November 2005 to March 2011. And then he joined the Indian Police Service during the year 1979. And he served the nation in the Indian Police Service for a decade. Can we have a loud round of applause for somebody who served the nation? We have one guy here who's not just excelled at one field, not at two fields. He served for the country. He started his own business. He's running his own garment factory. He's done a whole range of things. Apart from, and in the year 1988, he quit the Indian Police Service and entered into the business of garment exports. He serves as director of Celebrity Clothing Limited. He's a BA Honours in Economics from Sriram College of Commerce, New Delhi. And he's a postgraduate and Master of Arts from the Bangalore University. So he's been to different cities as well. So we have a traveler, entrepreneur, a cop, and here he'll just talk about his experiences to you. Venki Rajgopal.
Hey guys and girls, very good afternoon to all of you. And to Tulsi, thank you very much for having come all the way to Tambaram where I work to invite me here for this afternoon to speak with you all. And it didn't take me a heartbeat to say yes, because I find working with young people, which I have the privilege of doing at my workplace, perhaps the greatest boost of energy I get every day that I get to work. And it drags me back every morning. I'm so excited about what I do because of people who are young. But the two times when I don't like them, I must say, you guys are a pain in the butt once in a while. When I walk past my design studio in my office, very often my head designer will call me. He's a guy called Priyank. He'll say, "Bossy," that's what they call me. "Come here," and he'll show me a design, and he'll say, "What do you think guys your age will think of this color?" What do you mean, guys my age? It's such a rude reminder of where I am in life. And the other time when I dislike youngsters is on the golf course. When I get to play with a young guy, and he'll say, "Uncle, it's your time to play." I think, that's it. These two things get me sulking about young people. But on the whole, I think it is fantastic to be here. It's terrific to be amongst young people. There's nothing which gives me a greater adrenaline rush than just being able to interact with you guys and hang out with you this morning. So thank you for this opportunity. As your friend was introducing me, he got the sequence a little mixed up. So I'm a postgraduate in economics from the Delhi School of Economics. I taught at the Bangalore University before I joined the civil service. I served the Indian Police Service for 10 years, after which I quit, became an entrepreneur, and my friend Sharad Vijayaraghavan just described to you in such phenomenal detail as to what an entrepreneur should be. So you can imagine, if I was to appear before him today as an entrepreneur and he was the chairman of the board of my directors, he would have shocked me where I stood, because none of the things that he said is required for a good entrepreneur is something I can claim to have. I'm somebody who's just followed my heart, I've followed my instincts. I've always thought I should do what really gets me going, what keeps me excited every day. And it's been this journey through, a stint in the civil service. And that's because my dad was a civil servant. I was very idealistic about being a police officer, and I did that for 10 years. When I sensed at some point of time that I was losing that urge to wear the uniform every day, I decided to quit. I was serving in Uttar Pradesh, in the north of India, in a very exciting state where, if you're a police officer, there can be no more exciting a canvas against which you can play the role of the macho cop. So it was really fun those days. Then I came to Tamil Nadu for the first time 20 years ago when I came here to be an entrepreneur. I didn't study here, but set my roots down and became an entrepreneur, and then since then have been doing this. So when Tulsi asked me she showed me a list of topics on which I could speak. I picked leadership because I don't really think I have great competence to share on any of the other subjects she spoke about. And leadership, the sense in which I'm going to share what little I know about it, is because I've screwed up so often in this journey that I realized that every time I screwed up, it was because I didn't understand what it took to lead myself through a challenge I had set myself. So when I talk about leadership, it's not about a community, it's not about a group of people. The first call for leadership, according to me, is how do you lead yourself onto whatever is the journey that you choose to embark upon. All of you here one day will pass out of the portals of this great institution. You will go out into this world. When I got out into the world at some point of time, it was a competitive world. You looked at a job as a ladder you had to climb up. But I think if I am to look for a metaphor for the kind of life you boys and girls are going to go into, I would call it a jungle gym. Because you move up, you move down, you move sideways, you move in any direction. As long as you know it's got mission, you know it's got impact, you're passionate about it, that's the career you're going to pursue. It's not one ladder, you get onto one frame, and then you strive somehow to pull everybody else down so you go on top. That's not the world you exist in. That was the world I entered. So as I went through this phase of doing the many things that I did, I realized that leadership is a quality. I mean, it doesn't lend itself to easy description, but it is so essential. It is the sine qua non of a journey of pursuit of a better life, which is what we all do. But if you want to do it with grace, and if you want to back yourself to succeed more often than not, then that's something you need to pay a lot of attention to. So when I talk leadership, the first thing is lead yourself into a position where whatever is it that you choose to do, you give yourself a good chance of succeeding. Now, when I became, I wore a uniform, I was very young, joined the service at the age of 21, the Indian Civil Service. Earlier on, there was somebody in the audience who was saying his parents were forcing him to join the IAS and whether it was a great idea or not. Believe me, it was one of the best things I did because it taught me the value of, how idealism can actually be put to great use to serving the community to which we all belong. So many of us see inequity, injustice, corruption, so many things which bother you, which permeates the environment in which you live, and you have very, very little opportunity to do anything about it. You're a mute spectator, or you're a cynical commentator on what happens. You whine about what happens around you, but very rarely do you work towards giving yourself an opportunity where you can actually get down and do something about it. So I think those 10 years of my life in the police were wonderful years because I gave myself an opportunity to go out there and do something for a small community that I served, whichever district I was posted in, to really make a difference for the period of time that I could influence the circumstances in which they lived. I don't kid myself, I couldn't make an everlasting change. It's not if I changed something irreversibly, but even if I held the canvas of misery away from the people I chose to serve at that time, I think that was something which taught me that if there is an ambition within you, you have to lead yourself into a circumstance where you can deliver on that promise to yourself. So that's the first thing I learned, and which I want to share with you all is, you've got to lead yourself out. You will soon get out of this place, as long as you're in college, it's a protected environment. It's reasonably safe. But when you go out there into the world that lies waiting for you, it's an exciting world. It's a hugely connected, hyper-connected world, which you're going to go out into. And you will lose your way if you don't give yourself that tremendous quality, the strength with somewhere within to lead yourself. And it's not something which will stand out and say, this is the leadership quality you need to follow. When someone does a lot of those things well, then the rest of the community looks up at that person and says, he's a good leader, or what a great leader he makes. It's a sum of the things that you do which defines you to be a good leader or an average leader. But there's no one quality which I can pick out and say, if you do this, this is going to give you great leadership. So give you an example. I was posted as superintendent of police of a district, Kanpur. I don't know whether, it's in the state of Uttar Pradesh. It's a bustling, busy, criminal metropolis. So I was posted there because, for whatever reasons, the Director General of Police of that state had faith in the youth, just as what I was telling you about you guys. I was 25 years old and a superintendent of police. I'd just become a superintendent of police. He called me and he said, Rajgopal, I want you to go to this district, the city, and I want you to set it right. Because it has had corrupt officers before you, it is extremely criminal, and I think you can do the job. And I was shivering, when I left his office. I didn't know anything about going and managing. I was trained for it in the academy. It's an academic environment. I loved wearing the uniform, but it was never challenged. I wore it, people would salute me. I had a Jeep, which, as it would go past, all the traffic police would salute my Jeep. It was all an ego trip. But this is the first time I was sent out to prove my mettle, and I was absolutely scared. So I got off from the train, and when I looked out, I thought there was some law and order issue because there were about 200 police officers waiting there. Inspectors, deputy superintendents of police, there were 200 of them as I got off the platform. Imagine you're a 25-year-old guy, you're getting off in civilian clothes, and you wonder what's going on. And it took me a few seconds to realize that they were all there to receive me. That one guy, one portly DSP came charging towards me, saluted me, and it took me a few seconds to realize that from that moment on, I was in play. The period of preparing, thinking that you could do it was over. I was there in the arena, I was in serious play, and I wasn't sure that I was capable of, I started having serious doubts when I looked at the age of the people who were there, when you look at police officers who have served for a long time, they bring with them a brutal sense of experience. And if you're 25, out of college, barely 4 years out of college, you're going to have some serious reservations about whether you can manage it or not. I went on to serve there for 3 years, guys. And that was the best part of my life because I learned every day by the mistakes I made what it was to lead. The first thing I realized was, this just because I wore a uniform, which was sub-senior to them by the badge of rank I carried on my shoulder, they would all say yes, sir, to everything I said, but I rarely won their, my Hindi can be very, very profound, and very expressive, so I'll stick to English. So I said, this is bullshit. You need to suspend the license, take the weapons back. And that elderly gentleman, when he heard it, one of the Pathan, he was a 60-year-old guy, I guess. I'm calling him an elderly gentleman, I'll be there soon. So he came to the police, to my office to see me, and he pleaded with me not to take the weapon, and he said he would be killed if I did so. But me, I was young, I didn't believe in feedback. I made a quick judgment that if this has been the history which I read, and if they have weapons, as a police officer, it was my duty to take the weapons away, and that's what I did. And I didn't listen to that man's plea. I didn't go and find out what was happening on the ground. And, unfortunately, 3 days later, that old man was shot and killed. I can't tell you the regret that gripped me post that. I was absolutely miserable. I felt a sense of guilt. And it was a sense of guilt that I couldn't throw off because that old man's pleas were constantly in my ears as he was trying to explain why it was critical that he kept the weapon. And I didn't listen to him, and he died. It was one of my earliest lessons in learning that if you want to lead, and you want to lead well, if you don't have an honest environment around you which encourages feedback, where you can go and find out what exactly is the situation on the ground, without arming yourself with information, without creating an environment in which you as a leader actually promote conversation, promote opinions to come to the surface, more often than not, you will take disastrous decisions. It will be a unidimensional point of view. It will not be educated by the opinions and by the situation on the ground. And you could go so tremendously, dramatically astray that there it cost a life, but in the world of business, it can really cause tremendous setbacks. It was a learning on how to lead, and I changed the way I was working, even as a police officer from then. The other element about, somebody mentioned it earlier, leading from the front. How do you, as I told you, that it was a vast district, and it was populated by so many experienced police officers who all knew the city they were serving. And I was a novice. I was young, I was novice, wet behind the ears. All I had was a uniform and the fact that I was an IPS officer, and that was it. The only thing I felt I could do was set an example, because all I had was youth and energy on my side. So I told myself that as whatever it takes, I'm going to respond to every complaint which comes my way, every act of iniquity that I see happening in the city, anything which needs my attention, I'm going to be the first guy who reaches the spot. I can't tell you, for nearly 7 months I slept in my uniform. 18, 19-hour days were absolutely a given, because that's all I needed, all I knew to lead. I didn't know enough about the job or the people or the kind of crimes which were going to happen. I didn't have any intuition. I didn't have an instinct as to what to do. All I had was this one conviction that if I worked very hard and set an example, I would somehow rally this huge district of police officers around me to believe that it's good to be idealistic. Cynicism is the first thing which creeps into anyone who does the same thing for more than 10 years. And you will tell them and they'll say, sir, you don't know the situation on the ground. You young IPS officers, you come and you go and you spout all this theoretical nonsense. But somebody has to hang on to what is idealistically true and what is good for the community. And it took me a tremendous amount of effort to rally them around what I believed in, was that you have to do your best and serve the community, because that is the job of the police officer. That's why you wear a uniform. Somewhere, wearing the uniform for many people had become exercising power, making money, being corrupt, helping out a rich guy against a poor guy. The kind of, if you live in a neighborhood here, the kind of whining we do about the cops, and we say, he's a corrupt cop, the police don't do anything, the police supports one community or the other, which is actually true. Because over the years that they do this job, a policeman goes to work and comes back every day having met only one kind of person. He will either be a criminal, a dacoit, a bandit, somebody who's grabbing land. You'll never come back home and say, I had a wonderful day. I met some great people. It's not an enriching experience. That's why they get brutalized. But you as a young leader, and that's what I'm trying to say, irrespective of the environment in which you go to work, tomorrow you may join a company and become a manager, and you'll find people who have served there for 15 years, 20 years, especially in the accounts department, HR department. These are the departments where bandicoots, have been there for many years. They'll say, to teach us what to do. You need to be idealistic. You need to hold on to what you believe you're there for. But that's not enough if you just believe it. You need to get them on your side. So when I talk about leadership, when I quit the police and came into, when I called myself an entrepreneur, I started a small garment sewing factory with 25 machines. It was micro mini enterprise. I wouldn't dare call it a business of any dimension or proportion. It was just my attempt to find myself another life. But I learned that if you have to get people to rally around you to an idealistic vision that you may have, a desperate entrepreneurial situation which I was getting into, I knew nothing about stitching clothes. I was a police officer, son of a civil servant. I don't think I had even seen a sewing machine before that in my life. So I was getting into such dangerous waters with such little knowledge about what I was going to do, that if I was going to rally a bunch of people around me to help me pass that, I had to convince them that mine was a mission in which it was worth their following. And that's the leadership skill which I learned by practicing it, by the need to practice it. And that is when you go to work, and this is what I'm coming to say, don't go to work only caring for the things that you're going to be doing. You have to go to work caring for the people that you're going to work with. If you don't understand this ocean-like depth and the massive significance of working with the people, and understanding that they are humans like you, they cry, they laugh, they have problems at home, they may have had a fight with their wife. If it's a young guy, he may have been dumped by his girlfriend. The everyday humdrum of life is influencing the response of the person who's working with you. If you as a leader are only focused on the thing that you're interested in, which is a goal of your business, and you don't spend the time to understand what is it that is going to cause these people to rally around you, then I would say it's a non-starter. Whatever you may want to do. You could be a wildlife warden in a sanctuary, or you can be a photographer, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be a sportsman, whatever it is that you guys are going to be doing. This is not about business. I don't know how many of you are going to get into business. You may not. You may choose to be a photographer. Somebody maybe want to be a ballet dancer. And I think that's what life is all about. That's why it's a jungle gym. You go out there, this is a world where you can pursue infinite opportunity in infinite number of ways. But whatever it is that you choose to do, if you don't understand that you have to lead yourself and lead the people who make that journey worthwhile, then you're going to sell yourself short. And that's the tragedy. It's not as if you're not going to make a go of it, but you'll sell yourself short. You're not going to enjoy that experience. So you must learn that people from today, when you may be 22, 23 years old, till you're 70, wherever and whatever it is that you do, the people who walk alongside you absolutely must feel connected with you. They must have there must be rays of empathy which flow between the two of you, which keep you connected. Because remember that it is not just leading those you work with. There is also a family you're going to get into. Most of you will get married, you'll have children. And the rhythm of life plays out even as you're pursuing your business opportunity or whatever else you do. You're going to have a family which is growing with you. You'll have children who will turn out to be brats. You may have husbands who are, absolute, the word I was going to use. You may get married to a woman who gives you no peace of mind. Now that's a rhythm of life which is going to keep playing alongside what you're going to choose in the world of work. And the two are not going to get separated, let me tell you that. So you need to know how to lead your family towards the better goals that you want to do for yourself. And the only way you can do it is set an example of how you want it to be for yourself. There is an element of luck in the way it plays out. So when leadership is not about the work environment of work alone, you need to think about how do you lead the people at work. If you have a son who's 20 years old, if I can't set an example of how you should be as a man, or if I have a daughter, how she should be as a woman, if I don't stay interested in life, if I don't stay interesting in life, if I cease to be curious about life, if I become unfit, if I don't show a vibrant embracement of the life that I want to my family, how in hell am I going to convince them that there is a good way of living, there is a mediocre way of living, and there is a pathetic way of living? We will all live out our years, but there is a quality to life. And that's what you're going to do. All of you want to pursue a life which is better, which has got shades of a good life. I'm sure a lot of money is required. holidays, great families, all of that, which makes the picture of a family, a happy family, come true. But you, either as a wife or as a husband or as a boyfriend or as a girlfriend or whatever role you have in a personal space, needs as much thought of leadership as it is required in the space of business. And that's something I cannot labor enough. Please don't think leadership Monday to Friday. When I go to office, I need to learn to lead. I go home, I can be a lumpen guy, watching TV, ordering your wife coffee kondwadi, and it doesn't work like that. What do you do to stay vital and relevant and significant and dynamic and interesting to your family? It's as important. If you think about it, if that's that important, can you imagine how important it is in a workplace where you'll be working with 500 or 1,000 people who you don't know? You don't know where they come from. You don't know what motivates them, what doesn't. So if you can't carry the heart and the mind at every point of time into your workplace and bring a dynamic focus of the two, if your heart does not lead alongside with your mind, leadership is going to be left a bonsai as far as your own journey is concerned. You need to allow it to flourish. That is the ineffable quality of leadership that you need to always look for in the environment that you choose to be in. It will define you. So when you create an environment, you go to my workplace, I tell myself, Venki, if I don't create an honest environment and seek feedback, and if I don't make them comfortable enough to give me the feedback, I'm going to be taken astray. So what do? I go out there and first speak about all the failings I have. I go to a meeting, open up with the meeting, and first say, guys, these are all the things I screwed up on. I really need your help. I really need your help. The other thing I've learned is to praise lavishly. We all think, I'm a leader. I've got to go find fault. So the first thing I go into office and say, why is the door not been cleaned? Then I walk into my office, look at my office boy or somebody and say, why is the water on my table not cold? Look at someone else. The fault finding. You end up thinking, I'm a person in authority, I need to find fault. Yes, you need to enforce discipline. But think about it. How often do you praise somebody around you? I make it a religion. I go to my place of work, I tell myself, I have to find at least 20 people today who I go out and say, fabulous. I may call the gardener and say, Napa, you've cut the grass this morning. I sometimes find a reason to pick different people just to tell them I've connected with them. It could be a nurse. We have a small medical center in a place of work. I have 4,000 women working in one of my plants. So there is a nursing station who nobody really goes to except me. So I go and ask them, so how many children in the creche? What do you do? Fantastic. What a clean work. It takes an effort because you've done a great job. If you really are leadership material, if you want to develop it, and why I'm saying this is it didn't come to me naturally. I have to tell myself, look, today in the routine course of my day, I'm going to find fault with 20 people. I'm going to have review meetings. I'm going to get irritated with someone. That irritation is going to spill over onto someone else. And my day may not be, I may not be holding myself up to the highest standards of being a leader today. So let me do something consciously, and that is find reasons to praise. I once had to suspend a sub-inspector when I was a police officer for something I believed he had done right. He had arrested somebody outside a college, strangely. The college students came out, they protested because that guy was a professor. This young sub-inspector did a lathi charge. Some students got hurt. The circumstances demanded that the sub-inspector be suspended. So an old boss of mine told me, he said, Rajgopal, if you have to suspend him, you have to suspend him. But you can recognize him if you think he did the right thing. So I called him in front of the 50 other officers in the area in which he was working, and I had 2 envelopes with me. And this is not my idea, it was taught to me by my boss. I'm just sharing it with you, that you can be equitable even in a difficult time. I had one envelope which had a suspension letter, and I told him, listen, all this in Hindi, I'm translating in English, that what you did is not acceptable from somebody who wears the uniform. You did not live up to the ideals which you're supposed to protect. I'm suspending you. And once he was suspended and he removed his cap and handed over his belt of his uniform, I gave him a cash award of 1,000 rupees. I said, however, the courage you displayed, the presence of mind that you showed, the fact that you prevented a larger law and order problem from developing is something I respect. And that's a quality a police officer must have. And I'm going to reward you for that, and gave him a reward. And that's something I follow even today, that there is not necessarily, as a leader, I'm telling you, just the one way. Not every situation is not a nail, and every solution is not a hammer. There are circumstances, there will be many situations in your life where if you truly want to be seen as someone your teammates can trust, if you want to inspire them and win their trust, then you have to be a leader who has shades of holding up what you are there to hold up, but also you're human enough to emote and understand the motivation which made somebody do what they did. So if you want to go forward, and if you have dreams, then there are 4 or 5 things that I wish for all of you. My first wish for all of you is, please have dreams which are in magnitude far in excess of what you think you can achieve. Please have dreams which are far in excess. Because if you dream small, chances are you will achieve what you want to very soon in life, and that's when you lose that motivation which Sharath was talking about. You lose the direction, you lose the dynamism, and then that's when you lose the plot. So dream big. Don't worry about where you land, but dream big. Second thing I wish for all of you is stay passionate about whatever it is that you're going to embark on. So when you get onto the jungle gym of life and pursuing so many exciting opportunities, don't pursue something because now I've got this job, now I have a wife, now I have children, so I have to do this. I have to do this for reasons which are outside yourself. Be true to what your heart tells you. And that's what in my life I have done. I've pursued what I was passionate about. I've given up what I lost passion for. I really wish that you all stay very passionate about whatever you're doing, and then pursue wherever your passion takes you. I wish that each one of you remains, soft in heart and mind through all your life. If you don't have the softness of heart and mind, irrespective of the setbacks you have, however disappointed you may be in life, you could lose everything that you gambled on a business decision. You may lose your job, you may get sacked. You may be terribly upset with what fate deals out to you, but don't lose that softness of your heart and mind, because you will bounce back. You will find a new opportunity. You will be passionate about something all over again. And if you don't have the heart and mind to go together, you will miss that opportunity entirely. Last thing, don't ever whine in life. If you want to be a leader, don't whine. Don't crib. You know what I mean. Kipling said it beautifully. He said, if you can take all your winnings and make it in one heap, and throw it in one pitch and toss, and lose it all, and then have to start again from the very beginning without mentioning a word of your loss, then this world is truly yours, my man. It is the quality of not whining is so critical for your own self-esteem, for you to be seen as a leader by those who choose to follow you. Because remember, leadership is a gift given to you by those who choose to follow you. You can't say, I'm a leader, and become a leader. Unless this young lady or this young man chooses to follow me, I'm not a leader. So it's a gift given to me by those who choose to follow me. I have to really water that tree That gift of leadership given to me has to be protected. I have to be zealous about it. I have to work very hard at it. There is nothing which demands more attention than the responsibility of leading somebody through circumstances where their future and their opportunity lies. So as you pass through this, for this opportunity, thank you all very much. Stay unit, stay connected, enjoy your lives, be great guys and girls, and never lose the passion. Leadership, in whatever way you choose to practice it, will never desert you. Just stay with it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. I think we understood a lot about what life is for a police officer, for an entrepreneur, for a person who's gone through different fields in life. I know you guys have been listening to a lot of speakers today. I know you have a whole bunch of questions to ask, but we're really running short of time. So we'll take exactly 3 questions, or at the max 4 questions. All the speakers will come sit on stage now. And you can either direct your question to one specific speaker, or you can just put a generic question. All the speakers will be willing to take it up and answer it for you. But only 3 questions at the max. We're going to have 4. If by any chance we push it past 4, you might have to starve your way through to the next set of speakers because we'll have to skip lunch then. If you have a question, put your hand up. If you're short, stand up. We'll find you and we'll give you a mic.
Good afternoon to all of you. Sir, my question is to you, sir. Our last speaker, Rajgopal, sir. Sir, my name is Kavya. I'm an aspiring civil servant, sir. And I know how important it is for me that I want to clear the exam in my first attempt. So you were 21 when you cleared it. I'm assuming it was your first attempt. And you should have been like the youngest in your batch. It must have been a really proud moment for you. And after 10 years of that life, I really want to know how you gave up that lifestyle. So we all know how important, what an amazing lifestyle it is, not for the money, but for the recognition, for the service. So what drove you, what was the urge that you had to let go of that?
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me? Great. Firstly, congratulations for aspiring to be a civil servant. Because I meet very few people in Chennai, very few youngsters who want to join the civil service, including my son. If I suggest to him, why don't you think about it, he says, what is that? So thank you, there's someone who believes. As I told you, I joined the service because I was passionate about it. I loved the job. I loved being in Uttar Pradesh, every minute of it. But somewhere, the monotony of doing the same job started telling me on the enthusiasm I was taking to work. I did it for 10 years, and the nature of the work I was doing was extremely repetitive. And that's where I was saying, so I recognized that my quality of my work was suffering. The same passion was not being felt by me, and there was a call that I had to do something else. I recognized it within myself. Whether it was the right thing or the wrong thing, I don't know, but I followed my heart. And if I look back from today, I'm extremely happy I took that decision.
Good morning, sir. This is a general question to all of you. I'm Shivaram. I'm studying mechanical engineering first year this college. My question is, I'm from a middle class family, and I want to be a big entrepreneur. I want to own an MNC, not at the end of my life, but at the age of 35 or 40. That's my dream. I wonder if my dream is big or not, but I still feel owning an MNC is a relatively big task. And from where do I start? My father is, I'm an ordinary middle class family man. Then even if I get a job, I belong to a family, please don't mistake me. So from where do I get this much capital? If I think the first speaker said that he he had earned 1 lakh. But for me, 1 lakh, how is 1 lakh sufficient? I mean, I need a large capital. From where do I get this capital? This has been a question for me for many years. I mean, from my 8th standard or 9th standard. So can you please answer me?
Okay, let me start. First, if you're not passionate about what you're doing or what you want to do, if you don't know what you want to do, you got a problem. Now there are people who are obsessed in being a designer, being creative, or who love cars, or love motorcycles, or love clothing. Now, unless you have a passion like that, this is not going to get you to be an entrepreneur. Now, there are people who believe that they don't want all the risks connected with the business. Because being an entrepreneur, setting up an enterprise like the way Venki is done, he is one of those winners. For every winner, there are 10 losers. Now, the thing is that you must have the mental ability to A, swim through those difficult times when they happen, and they will, and be able to fight your case and stay positive. There is no man who has persevered who is lost. The question is, how do you get yourself to doing it? So, coming back, if you have a passion, if you love it so much, there's no way you can lose in anything, be any field. Now, you can't be sitting saying, I want to make 10 lakhs a month, therefore I want to be an entrepreneur. It doesn't work that way. It works because you are passionate about restauranting, about food. You set up a small restaurant. That's how hot breads were started. It's all over the place now. Look at what's happened. He started small, built it up. He established a market for himself, and he's expanded and grown because he loves food. Now, that's how you do it. First, you'll have to assess whether you have a passion. 2, whether you have the drive internally to be able to pursue that passion, and don't give up. You will have a lot of failures. I know a gentleman in New York City, fresh undergrad. He had an idea to do with web education. He wanted to set up a startup company. At New York University, they had a program for budding entrepreneurs. And this guy, he happens to be my nephew, he made a presentation to the board of the college, and they determined that his project was the best by all the students in the university. So what did the university do? They gave him $75,000 startup. He had $500 in the bank. The college gave him $75,000 and said, you can use our college premises as your office for 1 year, because you won't have the money to rent. What happened? He and